Alright, we are in Eve doing our thing, as usual, when something unexpectedly happens. Whenever we play, we need to have control over what is happening, and in a situation like this, we don't have any. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we will be looking into what happens when our ship, and, very important, what happens with other people's ships when EVE Online client disconnects. So, we will know what to do, how to react. In EVE Online, a client crash can result in very different outcomes for players, depending on where the ship is located and what flags are active. And I did found some surprises. So, here is an in-depth look at what happens when the EVE Online client disconnects, broken down by location and activity. And cut! We will start with the simplest possible scenario. Ship is docked. When a player's client disconnects while docked in a station or player-owned structure, the situation is generally safe and stress-free. The player's ship remains docked and unaffected. Other players cannot interact with the ship docked in a station, so the only inconvenience here is the need to log back in. If you don't really need to do that right away, you can log back in at any other time. No special measures are taken by the game to protect assets in these scenarios, as being docked is inherently safe. Good, we have seen that. Let's now get a little bit more complicated. What happens when the disconnect occurs exactly in the moment we undock? So we are in the station, we will undock, and let's see what happens in that kind of situation. So I'm going to click undock right now and disconnect right now. I did disconnect before undocking was confirmed. That is very important. The only thing is, yes, it takes longer than expected, and we have this message which says connection is lost. Alright, I will click quit here and I will be back with you guys immediately. And the result is we are still in the station. Remember, we did disconnect before the undocking was confirmed. Alright then, let's try another experiment. I will disconnect after the undocking is confirmed. So, here is undock. Alright. Confirm and log off the connection cut. Let's see what happens now. As we can see, the ship is just outside of the station. This is quite important because the ship was not doing the emergency warp, as we will see in the next cuts. But in this case, it just remains just outside of the station. Next scenario is ship is staying still just outside of the station. As we can see, there is 0 speed, we don't move, and in this very moment the game disconnects. Okay, and cut right now. Alrighty, Martin Scorsese himself will be really proud with this kind of cuts. Let's wait for the message. And here is the message. I just noticed that if we don't do anything, we don't move anything, this disconnection loss message appears quite late. And we are in warp. We have been at 1 million kilometers away from our original point, right? And in the moment we connect back, the ship is warping back to the original point, and we can resume our game from there. So it's very important to know when ship is, let's say, lost in space, right? It does an emergency warp to 1 million kilometers away, and after that, when we reconnect, the ship is warping back to the original position. It's very important to mention that if in the meantime the ship is warp scrammed, right, that emergency warp will never occur, right? Or also, if there are any other flags we will discuss later, that is affected as well by the existing flags on the ship. Alright then, let's proceed with the next scenario, in which we are, let's like in here at 22 kilometers away from the station, right? We are clicking dock, right? We are doing subwarp speed in here, and we disconnect. So I'm going to disconnect right now, and let's see what's happened. So again, the disconnect happens after we have click dock or jump through a gate. Let's see in that situation what will happen. And we were still in space at the moment, so very important to notice that the ship did not dock, even if we have make that command to the ship. We are still at this time 2000 meters away from the station, so at 2 kilometers away from the station, not at 22 as we have originally started from. And the next experiment goes like this. In this very moment we are at 2k away from the station. I'm going to give to the ship a Q move somewhere really far away, like over 200 kilometers right now, like this. Alright, so the ship started to move. So in the moment we disconnect, it's very important to know, is going to the ship going to be exactly here when it was left, somewhere in the middle, or at the destination. We are now close to 5k and cut connection right now, and we will see what's going on. In any situation, guys, when the client is disconnected, you will notice that actually the ship doesn't respond to any kind of commands, right? And things around will start to behave strangely. So that's an indication that something is wrong. As we can see, the ship appeared to go to that location, but in this very moment the client is disconnected. Yes, this is the message. Let's see. We will be right back.
Drive active.
And the result is, yes, emergency warp. But the question is, where is going to stop? At 5k from the station, at 300k from the station, or somewhere in between? Okay. And we have stopped at 29k from the station, so yes, somewhere in between. Again, we have disconnect at exactly 5k from the station, but the ship still went for 29k. Good. Next experiment goes like this. We have just undocked from a station and we want to travel to a Stargate, and the disconnection occurs exactly in the middle of the warp. Alright, let's do that. Warp within 0 meters.
Warp drive active.
Let's proceed with the warp and have a look on the distance here as well. So 8, and disconnect right now at around 3 AU from our destination. Let's see what happened. For now, the ship seems like it's continue, like nothing happens, but again, the client is really disconnected. So in this very moment, I can even try to click jump on it, but it's not going to work. You see, we still have the menus, but the game doesn't respond because the client is disconnected. Nothing happened, no moves. Alright, connection is lost. So what we have is an emergency warp. So if the ship is already in warp when disconnect, it will continue to warp to its intended destination. The server handles the warp independently of the client, so disconnection does not interrupt the warp process. However, once the ship lands at its destination, it will perform a standard emergency warp, right, at 1 million kilometers, Of course, under the premises that is not tackled or attacked or having another flag. Alright, next scenario is regarding disconnecting exactly when jumping through a gate. So, if the disconnection happens exactly before the jump animation starts, in that case the ship will remain on the current side of the Stargate and the standard emergency warp mechanics will apply, which means if the ship is not tackled or engaged in combat, the ship will try an emergency warp to a safe spot at 1 million kilometers, and after that it will safely log off after 1 minute, again if it's not tagged or something. So let's discuss what happens disconnection during the jump sequence. For that we will jump. Alright. We are jumping and disconnect now. So we are here. As we see, the new system is not loaded. So that is a strong indication that actually something happened during the jump, right? Because on the other side everything was good, and in here we have the connection lost. And here we are completing our emergency jump. So what happened here is that the server has already processed the jump request, so the ship will complete the jump to the destination system, right? So we are on the other side of the gate over here. Upon reaching the other side, ship has remained cloaked at the Stargate for the standard session change clock for about 60 seconds, right? And after that, since we were still disconnected, the ship has performed the emergency warp to a random 1 million kilometers away safe spot. It's very important to notice that if we would have managed to reconnect quicker, right, we would have had our ship in that respective position. Now, during exploration, we have already launched our probes, right? And let's say the disconnection occurs in this moment. Let me click this. Yes, now we are disconnected. Let's see what is happening and if we can still recover our probes. And we are doing the emergency jump back to where we were before. We still have the 2 cosmic signatures, but as we can see, this was all reset. All right. We have this button here, reconnect to lost probes. Let's click it. All right. Yes, we do have the probes already in position, already launched. Good. Let's continue then. Now we will simulate a disconnection while in the hacking minigame. So we are doing the hacking minigame and the connection is lost now. And we are doing the emergency warp as before, but we will come back at the same location. Alrighty, and we can recover the probes. As we can see, the hacking attempt was immediately interrupted and the minigame stops, and we have done an emergency warp, the same at 1 million kilometers away. After emergency warping, the ship will attempt to safely log off after 1 minute, if no new interactions occur. Now we are back with our minigame, but this time we will complete it right now, right? Let me click here. Alright, but the disconnection will occur just before I have the chance to loot the cargo. Alright, so we will disconnect right now. And we are still doing the emergency warp right back to our position, right? And in here, we can just open cargo like this. And as we can see, the cargo is still open. So the container remains open and accessible, does not immediately reset. We have done an emergency warp as before, but you need to be careful about this because it depends what kind of container and what kind of loot it is, because on some conditions, like when running special events, maybe containers will not remain open. On some occasions they may explode or something else can happen. Alright, we are mining something in here. We have our drones Hornet 2 already launched, right? And let's see, a cargo hold, mining hold, there is nothing yet, but I will wait until something gets into the cargo hold, and after that I will try to disconnect to see what is happening in a situation like this. Is the ship will continue to mine by itself, or what is going to happen? Alright, just a little bit here. Alright, we have some dense Velspar in our cargo hold, and the interruption occurs right now. Good, it's already interrupted. As we can see, the ship doesn't respond to any more commands. It's still orbiting, like it's ignoring the new commands, and we will have the message shortly. Here we are, and quit. And we are doing our emergency warp, right? And as we can see, our drones are already inside of the ship, inside of the drones bay, right? And we are very, very close, actually at this, almost at the same position as before. And let's check the cargo hold. Oh, there was something added into the cargo hold as well. Good. So what happened in here? The ship actually continued to mine one more round, right? We went from 4,000 to 8,000. After that, the drones were recalled, and after that, the ship has done an emergency warp to 1 million kilometers away. And from there, as before, the ship will try to log off safely after 1 minute or something. Now we will simulate a crash into the Abyssal death space. So first of all, it's very important to move somewhere, and the orbit command is always better compared with approach. So I will choose the biocache and click orbit. After that, it's very important to launch the drones immediately as soon as we can. If you are on an active stable fit, open the shield, turn on the shield, right, and start to work on the enemies. There are 3 things that can kill us in here. First of all, obviously the enemies, right? Secondly, we can go off the limits of this room. If we go off the limits, the ship will continue to receive damage and the ship will be destroyed. And the third one is the time. I took measures to have enough time in here, right? I will work on this enemy ships as well, because I really don't want to lose my ship, right? And I think right now I can turn off this and reinforce here orbit 1000 and disconnect right now. So right now we are disconnected in here. Let's see if I try to do any other command. The ship is not going to respond, right? And also I can see that the Lancer in here is not taking any kind of damages because client is disconnected. Let's get the message, yes, and I will try to reconnect as soon as I can. And we are back. As we can see, we are still rotating against the Triglavian biocache, but the drones, for some reasons, went back to the bay and they were not working on the enemies. We need to launch them again. Alright. And click attack like this. But the good thing is the previous target was already destroyed. So the ship will destroy one more target, the drones will be recalled, there is no emergency warp in here. There is no place to do an emergency warp, right? And everything else will this module, shield booster, will still be working and protect our ship. All right, then that's a very important thing, because without this shield booster, the ship would have been destroyed immediately. Good. So again, it's very important, activate the defenses if possible, right? Launch the drones if your ship are on drones. Be sure you don't go off the limits by clicking orbiting on something, right? And very important, reconnect as soon as you can. Alright, now we are going to simulate a crash while doing a mission, like an NPC mission and an agent mission. In this case, it's an agent level 3 mission. It's very important to mention that if the disconnection happens before the engagement with the NPC, so there is no flag, no yellow NPC flag in here, the normal mechanics will kick in. Like the ship will do the normal emergency warp and nothing spectacular will happen. After 1 minute, if the ship is not tackled or something, the ship will safely disconnect. Alright, it's very important to see what's going on in a situation when we are going to engage the NPCs, right? And we are going to have the NPC flag in here. Let me launch the drone as well. Alright. The same as in Abyssal, maybe it's a good idea to launch drones, put it on auto aggro, and if you have active shield, which is okay to activate, it's not going to deplete your capacitor. Yes, maybe it's a good idea to activate it, just to be sure the NPCs are not going to destroy your ship immediately. Alright, while the NPCs are here, it's very important, if they are warp scrambler capabilities, if the ship is warp scrambled, it will not be able to perform that emergency warp. Here we are cornered in here. Right, let's try to click on them, and we have a webifier over there. Alright. Everything is activated here. Let's try to put the drones on this one. And we do have the NPC flag. I will try to kill a number of these NPCs before I will simulate the interruption. And I will cut connection right now. And we are back in here. All right. As we can see, we are still doing the emergency warp. And we have arrived back to our original location. But as we can see, the drone is back into the drone's bay. All right. The situation is exactly as we leave it. Nothing changes. And the shield is still, both shields are still working as before. This is a very important thing, because without these shields, the ship would have been definitely destroyed. As you can see, we still have the NPC flag, right? But the ship was not here all the time. The ship has performed the emergency warp, which is again a good thing. All right, I will stop this. And I will just click dock.
Warp drive active.
Alright guys, now it's time to discuss what happens when there is a disconnection with a PvP flag. If you disconnect while you have an active PvP flag, the normal emergency warp and safe log-off mechanics are altered. There is an emergency warp if ship is not warp scrambled, but our ship will not attempt to log off within 1 minute after the emergency warp as usual. Instead, it will remain in space for the full duration of the PvP timer. which is 15 minutes for a suspect or criminal timer and 5 minutes for a limited engagement timer. If you haven't seen my flags and timers video, suspect flag or yellow pirate flag means you have done something like a medium offense, and limited engagement timer means someone has attacked your ship but you have not fight back yet, otherwise you will have a weapons timer as well. The limited engagement timer renew each time ship is hit by another player, so ship is particularly vulnerable in this situation. Even if ship does the emergency warp, it's very easy for the other players to scan it down and destroy it, as they have full 5 minutes for limited engagement timer and no less than 15 minutes for suspect and criminal timer. Not only it will remain in space for those 15 minutes, but also it will be a valid target for everyone. Being criminal in high sec will attract Concord intervention and the ship will be destroyed for sure. Now, what happens if the ship is destroyed? If only ship is destroyed but the pod survives, all flags, if any, will be transferred to the pod, and all procedure with the emergency warp will be carried out by the pod in itself. If the pod is destroyed, you will have a new clone and you will be reconnected at your clone station. No more flags in this scenario. It is very important to mention that the same disconnect mechanics apply in other situations, like when client crashes or when you get caught by the middle day downtime. It's very important to log off before downtime. Never start a mission before downtime, planning you will finish it after. Location plays an important role in here as well. Getting disconnected in high sec usually is less dangerous. In all other areas there are players who are actively scanning for you and they have the right to engage you. Being exactly 1 million kilometers away from a location like a station or gateway really is not helping, as it's quite easy to scan and it's almost like a label, hey, shoot me, I am disconnected. Alright guys, please let me know in the comments what was your experience with disconnections in EVE Online, and with that we conclude our vid today. Thank you for being with us, we'll see you in the next vid.
Warp drive active.
All of our tutorials are meant to be seen in sequence, be sure you have checked on that. Before we go, please give us a thumbs up, it's free. Grow with the channel, hit that subscribe button and activate notification bell now. Share and always recommend Maxte in your social media and to your friends. Thank you for being with us. See you in the next one.